At first glance, the influence of color on film may pass by the average viewer. Color is everywhere, so much so that it is disregarded or taken for granted. It is merely a piece in the puzzle of how we experience this visual stimulus. Yet this almost hidden or neglected element of color that we naturally overpass is actually greatly important to the emotions and influences a film is trying to produce. While the colors we see during our daily lives are to an extent random patterns we come across, color in film is placed and purposeful. In Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, made in 1980, the use of color is significant and plays into the proposed meaning more than what the average viewer would think after an initial viewing. Stanley Kubrick is an American film director who is regarded as one of the best ever. He is responsible for the cult classic sci-fi film 2001: A Space Odyssey, made in 1968, as well as other hit films such as A Clockwork Orange, made in 1971, and Full Metal Jacket from 1987. Working through major transitioning times of movie making, Kubrick was able to set standards for many genres, specifically 2001: A Space Odyssey for the sci-fi genre and The Shining for the horror drama genre. He is known for having great attention to detail and very dramatic visuals. The Shining centers around the twisted and sickening change of Jack Nicholson's character, Jack Torrance, and his mental state after moving into the isolated Overlook Hotel with his family. This transformation is slow and very cognitive, making his character in this film a beautiful yet uncomfortably creepy display of human change, using and transforming colors and their meaning throughout the film to reflect the evolution of the character's state of mind from sanity to insanity. To gain a better understanding of why colors are used for particular reasons in The Shining, a simple understanding of color theory will help. At a basic level, we can organize color into warm and cold. Blues, greens, purples, and other combinations are cold, while orange, reds, and yellows are warm. Different levels in tone and tint can change how a color is perceived. For example, a lighter red may signify lust, while a darker red may signify danger. Complementary color palettes use colors opposite each other on the color wheel, such as orange and blue. A monochromatic color palette uses a single hue on the color wheel, and triadic colors are colors opposing each other on each third of the color wheel. We can view these oppositions or closeness on the color wheel and the temperature of the colors as something that is characterized in film for that exact reason, that they are opposite or close to one another on the color wheel. Kubrick purposely uses this in The Shining to use color as a form of characterization for the characters themselves as well as the relationships between them. Kubrick's obsession with the color red has been made evident through his prominent use. However, what stands out is how the meaning of the color remains the same amongst the plethora of his films. His masterpiece 2001: A Space Odyssey uses red to signify the dangerous and threatening nature that Dr. Dave Bowman has been engulfed by. The prominent use of the color red evokes similar feelings throughout the film, allowing there to be a meticulous and clear flow. Directors have used colors in a number of different ways, allowing them to either carry and communicate meaning or help support the flow of the narrative. Kubrick's use of colors can easily be recognized as a way to support the storyline whilst evoking certain sensations to the viewers, whilst directors such as Tarsem Singh often uses colors to carry a very specific message. Singh's 2006 film The Fall uses numerous colors to represent character personalities and emotions, allowing viewers to allocate a certain color to specific emotion and character. This could be easily recognized as a semantic use of color, as Orman Rotem has coined in his article relating to color theory in film. Kubrick, contrary to Singh, uses colors to fortify the genre, theme, narrative, and mise-en-scène of the film, which could be referred to as syntactic use of color, allowing them to become part of the film's internal language. This notion is evident in Kubrick's infamous film The Shining, where the use of certain colors truly emphasize the narrative whilst fortifying the nature of danger and insanity. The character transformations we witness throughout the film undergo substantial change, with the most prominent one being Jack Torrance's mental state. The evolution of his insanity is clearly represented and highlighted through the color red. The beginning of the film depicts red as a welcoming and wholesome color decorating the interior of the Overlook Hotel. The color does not evoke the feeling of anger, but rather acts as a colorful touch to the mise-en-scène. As the film progresses, the intensity of the color red increases to become much more dominant, and begins to be used during scenes that evoke a certain discomfort, hinting at the existence of a possible threat. This change also becomes evident in Jack's costumes, where we clearly see him switch from green pieces of clothing to costumes that are dominantly red. With this notion in mind, it is possible to argue his red velvet jacket accompanies him on his way to insanity. A similar argument can be made for the color green, where in the beginning of the film it is regarded as a welcoming soft color. The end of the film depicts a much more sinister representation of green, emphasizing the uncomfortable nature of the Torrance family's transforming instability. Room 237 is a brilliant example of how the color quite literally evolves to become more gruesome, sinister, and a little bizarre. The certain change in mental state is not only evident in Jack Torrance's character, but is also visible with Danny and Wendy. Not only red and green are presented in the film, colors such as blue and brown are also very evident on the screen. One of the characters that is often seen wearing blue is Danny, which associates him with a childlike innocence. This is also the color the twins wear in Danny's visions. The director also connects blue to Wendy as she sees visions of corpses in the gold room, which makes her confront reality and how the hotel can bring death to their family. Wendy's character uses red as a representation of her love for Jack. However, as her character progresses, she is seen wearing brown and green, thus becoming emotionally stronger. These colors ground her to reality and survival. Whereas before she used to accept Jack's violence and alcoholism, this is no longer the case. The colors that surround them also undergo change and reinforce the narrative and message of quietly going insane together. Using the colors in a particular way reinforces the narrative and allows a clear flow to happen. As the storyline develops, the color palette encoded in the film's internal language undergoes change in meaning, enabling the audience to understand how the film is evolving. This evolution in costume color palette and its semantic meaning is also reflected through the changing of colors within the overall mise-en-scène. In film, the majority of our attention tends to be brought to the most dominant subject. With Kubrick's tendency for symmetry, the dominant subject is typically whatever character or action is occurring. This pushes us to neglect the subtleties of the mise-en-scène, that together create the tone that the film relays. In some films, and definitely in this one, the environment and setting play such a key role in the development of the plot that it can even take on characteristics of itself, allowing for the colors within the mise-en-scène to be reflective of the setting's effect on the characters. Kubrick's deliberate use of different color saturation, such as different types of greens and reds as the film progresses, helps the director to emphasize the transition of the film. Colors have a psychological impact on people and how they interpret, hence colors can affect us emotionally and psychologically. As the film opens, we see Jack Torrance attending his interview at the hotel for the first time with a clear distinction between his grey and green suit and the pastel-like orange-red on the walls. Oftentimes we cognitively connect the color green to nature, and through nature is life. And from Jack's entrance through the mountains, nature is the audience's connection to him at this point. We are directly or indirectly influenced by colors. This psychological influence affects our subconscious mind, and it has cognitive visual effects on how we emotionally interpret things and perceive reality. The effective use of colors in The Shining enhances and successfully sets the atmosphere for a psychological horror film.